Welcome back, Seeker of Songwriting Secrets. This is the third episode of Under the Hood, presented by Opening Up Songwriting. I'm Timothy Ressler, and I'll be your host. Today we're going to look at the hit song, Sugar by Maroon 5. All right, so let's begin at the verse. And we'll look at the rhyme scheme to start out. First, you have XA, XA over here. XA, XA. Now, you may notice there's an asterisk next to the A, and that shows you that it's not a perfect rhyme, but rather what we'd call an additive rhyme. Okay. Now, of course, dow and now would be a perfect rhyme, but down and now are not perfect rhymes. If you add the N to a perfect rhyme, then you have what's known as an additive rhyme. Okay? Here you have XA, XA, and again, I have the asterisk next to the A, and that tells you that it's an assonance rhyme, not a perfect rhyme. Weak and knees have the same vowel sound. All right? Now, we've talked about how great songwriters always engage the five basic senses. Now, the great songwriting teacher, Pat Pattison, also talks about another sense that he calls the organic sense. And that refers to basically how the songwriter is feeling physically. Whether you're sleepy, excited, maybe moody. In this case, the songwriter's body is hurting, broken down, and weak. Something that everyone can relate to. Okay? And he's really engaging the interior imagery. Okay? How he's feeling on the inside. Not talking a lot about what's happening on the outside quite yet. All right, let's look at line 3 and line 7. You'll notice that some of those words are repeated a couple times. Now, that's a literary device known as epizeuxis. Okay? Now, it's been used many times in other songs, like There Is a Season, Turn, Turn, Turn. You probably all have heard that one. Here you've got a word that's repeated twice, could be repeated 3 times, and it makes it a little bit more memorable and more of a song. Okay. There's also some alliteration in line 5 and 6. You've got a lot of W sounds. You got when, without, and weak. Okay, and in terms of the music, you've got basically the same 4 chords that continue throughout the whole song. Okay. It's a very good chord progression. Got F sharp major, A sharp minor, D sharp minor, and C sharp. Okay, so you got the 1 chord, the 3 minor chord, 6 minor chord, and the 5 chord. All right, let's look at the pre-chorus now. All right, now with this one, you're going to notice that the melody climbs ever so slightly. In the verse, the melody is basically just 3 different notes, just like that, okay? But here, you add 1 more note. You add an F that's a little bit higher. Okay. It goes, right? Okay. So now you're dealing with 4 notes in the melody. Of course, they're sung very well, so makes it a little bit more interesting. So You may also notice that the melody gets a little bit faster. You've got some 16th notes in there, whereas the verse is mainly eighth notes. And also, one thing I forgot to mention in the verse was that the melody consistently begins on the and of beat one. Okay, kind of creates some continuity throughout the whole verse melodically. Okay, so now we've talked about the music for the pre-chorus and how it's just a little bit different than the verse, more or less a variation on the verse. Here you've got this rhyme scheme, AAX, BBX, okay? AA is love and love, X, a non-rhyming section, and then you have BBX, R and R, and then X. Yeah, and technically, when you've got the same word, we'll call it a rhyme for now, okay? Now, you might be noticing that the end of these two lines end the same exact way. And wait, that happens here too. Where you are, where you are. Now, that's a common rhetorical device used in songwriting, poetry, known as anaphora. Okay, so that's why I wrote that in there. Lines 1 and 2, and 4 and 5. And anaphora can occur at the end of a line of lyrics, or it can begin the line, okay? It could be for 4 lines, for 8 lines, or in this case, just for 2 lines, okay? Then we've got some more alliteration in line 6. Gotta get, 2 G's. And let's also talk about the interior and exterior balance pattern, okay? So here I'm talking about how the songwriter talks about himself and then his love. All right, so you've got me, you, me, you, me, you. That's why I wrote I-E, I-E, I-E. Okay, interior, exterior, interior, exterior. You get the idea. Okay, and then the next part is I-E, I-E, and I at the end. You got me, you, me, you, and now this is the important part. He just says I. He leaves it unbalanced at the end. Now, balance is a very important part of songwriting. Sometimes you want things to be balanced. Other times you want them to be unbalanced. If you're trying to create some tension for a segue into the next section, it's a great idea to leave it unbalanced. If you want to finish an idea or give it a sense of closure, then it's a better idea to keep it balanced. I.e., just like the moon and the sun, just like the daytime, the nighttime, the winter, the summer, the yin and yang, you need a balance, okay? And then, of course, if you leave it unbalanced, it makes the listener think, well, what's next? Let's see what's next. All right, the chorus with a great hook, okay? Now, the chord progression's still the same one, but here's what makes it really interesting. You've got the dramatic interval, the big leap right in the beginning that then falls down. Sometimes it falls down by steps. Sometimes it goes down by, like a minor third, like it does in this case. Now, we talked about that with Thinking Out Loud, and there's a lot of great songs that have hooks that begin with a giant leap up, like maybe it goes up a fifth, goes up a sixth, or even an octave, and then it falls back down, okay? Now, that is a great thing to use on a chorus. Now, the cool thing is they don't just do it once. They decide to do it twice. Okay, so first time you've got the question of sugar. Yes, please. All right. Now that's quite a bit higher than the original notes of the pre-chorus and the verse. But then here comes the second dramatic interval. Okay, and that's basically the melody. And so here you've got the hook, which is great, question and answer. And then here you've got the second dramatic interval. Okay, so makes for a wonderful hook. And then the melody is repeated here with some different words. So this is kind of like a variation on this. And then here you have something a little bit different. Okay, he sings a little bit lower, gives it a little bit of contrast. And then he closes again with the hook and the title of the song, of course. That's Sugar. Okay. Now, here within the chorus, you have a form of A, B, A. A very common form and a very effective one, too. Okay, look at the rhyme scheme. You've got an assonance rhyme with please and need, the same E sound. And then you got a perfect rhyme, me and sympathy. Then here you've got all right and life. That would be a assonance rhyme for BB. And here you've got the same thing as up here. So this connects to this. Okay. All right. And that's it for the chorus. Let's take a look at the second verse now. All right, so the rhyme scheme here is XA, XA, and up and some, the same vowel sound, but are not perfect rhymes. Insecure and for are, I would say, pretty much perfect rhymes, depending on how you say them. I guess you could consider this something a little bit different if you're looking at just the last consonant sound. Then you could consider it a consonance rhyme. Okay, but it's so close, I'm going to call it a perfect rhyme for now. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, and let's see. Of course, like you had in verse 1, you've got line 3 and 7 with epizeuxis. Okay, hanging, one thing. And this time around, they add some vocal harmonies to these parts, which jazzes things up a little bit, makes it a little bit more interesting, and makes the production a little bit more sophisticated. Okay, you've got some more alliteration, pieces, and pick. And right here, I noticed a little bit of what we call a mythological reference, I guess. Now, there's a lot of different myths that might go along with this, but the one that I immediately thought of when I heard this line was the famous Egyptian myth of Isis and Osiris. Now, if you're not familiar with it, I'd highly recommend looking it up. It's a great story, but the condensed version is basically Osiris gets chopped up into little pieces, and his wife Isis picks them all back up and puts them back together and brings him back to life. Now, there's a lot more to the story, and it's very interesting, but I won't get into all of it right now. Okay, and let's also look at the balance of interior and exterior dimensions, I guess you could call them. You've got me, you, me, 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 you, me. Okay, I wrote it out here. I, E, I, Okay, now it's kind of interesting, kind of like a mirror image. Okay, you can, there's a lot of different patterns that work here, but the idea is that you have a little bit of a balance. All right, now let's go back to the chord progression. All right, and let's talk a little bit about the what we call the root motion of the harmony. The harmony is just the chords that you're playing, and the root motion is the distance between the roots of the chords. All right, so you call the distance between two notes an interval, and if you got the first chord is an F sharp major, right? The next chord is an A sharp minor. That's an interval of up a third. I wrote a lowercase w here because you would call that a weak progression or a weak root motion. Okay. Then after A sharp minor, it goes to D sharp minor. It goes from this chord. Okay, and that would be down a fifth. And that's considered strong root motion. Okay. Then it goes from D sharp minor down to C sharp major. And that's considered weak root motion. And then it goes from C sharp major back to the one chord, F sharp major. Now that is going down a fifth. That's a common way that songs end is by going down a fifth like that. And that's considered strong root motion. All right. Now, I'm not saying that weak root motion is bad by any means. All it is that you want to have a good balance of weak and strong root motion. Okay, or you could just have all strong root motion too. That works as well. But what doesn't work is when you have all weak root motion going on. So let's look at the next page and explain that a little bit more. Okay, so here you have root motion, strong versus weak, in order from strongest to weakest. And I put it in the key of C to make it a little bit more accessible and easier to understand. So you got the strongest, up a fourth or down a fifth, the same idea, same interval, okay? Just depends on if you're going from C to F, going up a fourth, or going C to F, going down, that's down a fifth, okay? The second strongest would be down a fourth or up a fifth. C to G. Okay. Then the next one is up a second. C to D minor. Okay. Then the next one, down a third. C to A minor there. Now we're getting into the really weak chord progressions or root motion sequences. Here you have down a second, A minor to G. And then the last one is up a third, C to E minor. All right, so this is a very good tool to have if you are trying to come up with some chord progressions. Now, of course, I just stayed within one key here. It's always good to borrow from other keys too, but that's a different discussion. So this should get you started off on the right foot. All right, and let's look at the bridge now. So here, immediately, the songwriter is engaging the senses. Okay, you've got red velvet. That creates a pretty strong image in the mind. Okay, red, that involves the sense of sight. Velvet, all right, so that's touch. Sugar, sweet, taste, of course. Here you have him talking about touch again. And I would say there's definitely some organic senses going on here too. I'll let you guys look at the words and figure that out. All right. Let's look at the rhyme scheme here. You've got A, B, A, B. So perfect rhyme, velvet and it. Assonance rhyme, sweet and me. And well, in fact, it's an assonance rhyme because it has the same vowel sound, but it's also considered an additive rhyme because you're adding the letter T. Okay. Now here you have CD, CD, man, than, way, day. Bunch of perfect rhymes there. And then here, there aren't any rhymes, just all X's, okay? And that's good. It creates a little bit of contrast. Okay, here you have all perfect rhymes. Most of the song is partial rhymes, additive rhymes, assonance rhymes, and here you have no rhymes. So you get that much needed contrast. We've also got here a simile, or you're hotter than a Southern California day. You know, comparing two different things, and you got a little bit of anaphora right up here. You got I want, two lines that begin the same way. I don't. Some more anaphora. Okay, and let's see. I guess you could call this internal rhyme. Wanna, gotta. Okay, you've got the same vowel sounds. And, there's, of course, always things that I may miss. And I'd love to get your feedback if you notice anything. And hopefully you've learned something. And look forward to the next episode. Have a good one. Take care.